Good morning, Bucknutters. Welcome to the Bucknuts Morning 5 here on Monday, August 8th, 2022. I am Dave Biddle, very happy to be joined by Steve Helwagen. A lot to get into. Recruiting all of a sudden has taken a nice turn for the Buckeyes. Arvell Reese, Buckeyes tapping back into that Glenville pipeline, Steve, for the first time since Marshon Lattimore. Man, it was like every year they had like 2 or 3 Glenville kids in a class, it seemed like. Haven't had one since Marshon Lattimore. He worked out pretty well. They landed Arvell Reese. Love this kid. Fast, sideline to sideline type of linebacker. Really good get for the Buckeyes, Steve.
Yeah, it seemed like for about a 12-year stretch there, they were taking 1, 2, 3 Glenville guys every year. And it was something like 20 or 21 guys. I don't know. Pat had the exact number. He did a story on it. But it has kind of gone down the last few years. They haven't been maybe quite as good in terms of football at Glenville. It sounds like they're starting to rev it back up a little bit. And Arvell Reese, our database has him 6'3.5", 215-pound linebacker from Cleveland Glenville. He had offers from a lot of top schools, including Alabama and most of the Big Ten. Ranked number 277 overall nationally, number 20 linebacker, and number 7 overall in Ohio for the 2023 class. And, we used to just write down the top 10 in Ohio and just assume that 8 of them every year were going to go to Ohio State. And it really hasn't been like that in recent years. So because Ohio State's been able to go national and get into places like Georgia and South Carolina, North Carolina, Texas, they've hit really hard. So, and obviously Florida, California, et cetera. So, again, does this open up more kids from Glenville to come to Ohio State? I guess we'll have to wait and see. I think Ryan Day and his staff are taking a one-by-one approach. If you're a good enough player, they're going to offer you, and then you'll have the chance to come and play at Ohio State. But the recruiting at Ohio State has been outstanding, as we all know, and so it is a very selective process. But Reese, to me, if he's a guy that Jim Knowles wants on his defense at linebacker and he coaches the linebackers, then, I'm going to go with that as the expert recommendation. So Arvell Reese, going to be a Buckeye in the 2023 class, continuing to bolster that defense and get more depth, get more bodies, get more talent on that side of the ball, because that's what it's going to take to get the defense back to the standards it needs to be at.
No, Larry, I don't have the pups quite trained yet. We're getting there. They're pretty close. I don't want to, knock on wood, though. We're getting pretty close with the pups. Speaking of recruiting going well for the Buckeyes, now this isn't official yet, but Dijon Johnson, the high 4-star corner, decommitted from the Buckeyes a few weeks ago. There is a ton of smoke that he's going to recommit to the Buckeyes from heavy hitters like the Dean, Bill Kurelic, the Fong, Steve Wiltfong. They're not saying for sure it's going to happen, but they're hearing that's the most likely scenario is what they're hearing right now. So that'd be great news. Again, it's not official, but it sounds like Dijon's going to come back to the Buckeyes, Steve.
Yeah, Dijon Johnson, I think he's a guy that Ohio State obviously wanted at the cornerback position. He was one of their chosen guys, and I think there were some family issues going on with him back in the state of Florida, and I think that that kind of led him, as I understand it, to reconsider and consider playing somewhere a little closer to home. But to me, this would be a big coup if Ohio State's able to get him back into the class. It would be a rarity, obviously, to have a guy lose a guy and get him back. That usually doesn't happen a whole lot, but Dijon Johnson is a guy I think that the defensive coaches would say is probably worth it. I'm just scrolling down here to look and see what we have about him that really stands out in our database. Number 93 player overall nationally. That really stands out right there, Dave. 37 schools that offered him scholarships. He committed in, I think it was April or May, and then decommitted at the end of July from Tampa, Florida, Wharton High School. And it seemed like Miami of Florida and Florida had both made a run at him during this intervening period. So we will see if Johnson does follow through. 6'1", 190-pound cornerback, number 10 cornerback overall in the country, number 21 overall or 20 overall player in the state of Florida, and perhaps some of the issues that he was concerned about back on the home front. Hopefully they've been able to work through some of that, and he'll be free and clear to sign with Ohio State in December as part of this 2023 class. And again, can't get enough good high caliber, top defensive players. That to me, if they're going to win a national championship, they've got to start being really serious about recruiting on the defensive side of the football. And this young man, a national top 100 player and top 10 in his position, he would fit that bill, Dave. I think he would fit right in. A big corner, 6'1", 190 pounds. I think he would fit right in on that mission, I would say.
I would say so, Steve. Let's hope that materializes. I'd love to get Dijon Johnson back in this class. I did not like seeing that news when he decommitted because I was really high on this kid. So great news. Again, not official,
yeah,
but
so was Tim
Kurelic and the Fong saying this is probably going to happen. It's probably going to happen. Go ahead.
More than likely.
More than likely. That's right. All right. Let's get into some actual team coverage. We're going to be there today. Practice is not open. They're actually practicing like right now. Practice started. We're going to be over there at 11:30 a.m. today, interviewing Justin Fry and the offensive lineman. Really looking forward to that. Coach Fry, interesting guy to talk to, very energetic. You can see why the guys like him. It was fun seeing him coach the guys up at practice, Steve. We got up close and personal, as we always do. The offensive lineman and the defensive lineman are always like right in front of us. They tuck the quarterbacks way back at the other end of the field where we're not allowed to go during practice. But we'll be over there today interviewing Coach Fry and the O-lineman. Really looking forward to that. Speak about your thoughts on the O-line a little bit, and also look back on the first week of camp, more like a half week. Anything really stand out to you?
Well, we get to see so little. That's just kind of hard to
Right.
make definitive judgments because you're not watching them in 11-on-11 scrimmage and seeing guys really make football plays. They're working on football fundamentals when we're there, so it's really rudimentary. To me, the general health of the team stands out, that they're not missing any key playmakers at this point. Mitchell Melton may be the only one that's been kind of on the sideline. Beyond that, sounds like most everybody's going to be healthy and ready to go. Great to see Josh Proctor out there running around. If he could play like he did 2 years ago, then there's another mainstay type guy at safety position for Ohio State. So I think that would be huge. Offensive line, there were some concerns in the spring because 4 or 5 of the backups were banged up and didn't really go through the spring. Looks like everybody is back healthy. They were 3 lines deep, it looked like, with scholarship guys, so about 15 scholarship linemen there. So you have bodies. Now you need for Justin Fry to develop those players and make starters out of, or close to starters out of 8 or 10 of them, and then you'll have actual real depth. So I don't think anybody's expecting the freshman offensive lineman to come in and star right away, but again, some of those sophomores and juniors who haven't had a chance to play a whole lot, this is their time. This is their chance to kind of push forward a little bit and see if they can get in the 2 deep. So that to me was very important. Defensive line, Larry Johnson's got a ton of bodies over there and a lot of guys that are unheralded. And we want to see, what Tyler Friday can do when he gets back in there. Teron Vincent is another guy. Jerron Cage. I mean, you got a bunch of guys who've been there and played some football, but has it been great football? That's the question mark. And now can all those guys take their game to another level and support the front line guys like Tyleik Williams and maybe Mike Hall and, some of those other guys, defensive tackle, defensive end. Looks pretty good with Jack Sawyer, JT Tuimoloau, and Zach Harrison. So that's what I want to see. I want to see how they grow and develop quality depth on both lines, offensive and defensive line. That's what I'm looking for. Hopefully we'll get back out there on Thursday and maybe things will look a little bit different. They'll be in full pads, probably a few more guys, out there. As Ryan Day said, when it gets tough and we go through 4 days of full pad practices in a row, are you still with me? Are you still here? And can they depend on you to answer the bell? So that's what we'll be looking for when we get back out there on Thursday for that. And of course, looking forward to talking to the offensive linemen today. A lot of good stories there of guys who have made themselves into what they are. Dijon Johnson probably at the top of that list. So a lot of good stories coming out of the offensive line later today.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Quick question to get to. This is from Ed. I'm sure a lot of people are wondering this. Who are going to be the top 4 linebackers in order for the Buckeyes this year?
Man.
I can take my first crack, Steve, as you think about it. I'm going to go with Tommy Eichenberg, Steel Chambers, Cody Simon, and I'll go Reed Carrico, although I think CJ Hicks is knocking on the door. Chip Trayanum might be in there. They got so much depth there. Taraja Mitchell, E.A. Natiote. But to answer the question, I'll go Tommy Eichenberg, Steel Chambers, I'll go Cody Simon, and I'll go Reed Carrico, again, with CJ Hicks knocking on that door. And some
I like your list. I was going to say Reed Carrico. I think your first 3 are pretty obvious based on who played last year, although now you have an entirely new coaching staff other than Larry Johnson on the defensive side of the ball, with Jim Knowles making the decisions both for the linebackers and for the scheme as the coordinator. And so maybe he'll want to go in a new direction, and maybe some real playmakers will emerge. But CJ Hicks, I mean, he passes the look test. He walked into the hotel yesterday at the hotel check-in, looked like an NFL guy. So, there were a lot of those. There were about half those guys that walked in there looked like NFL guys yesterday. So if they play like NFL guys, then they'll have something, Dave. But I think it's very important at that linebacker group, Steel Chambers, Tommy Eichenberg, if they're going to be the guys that they play up to an all Big Ten caliber level, because that's really been kind of lacking, I think, at Ohio State, the linebacker position in recent years. And people have been able to run the ball and throw the ball in Ohio State at times. And a lot of it's had to do with poor play at the linebacker position. So I want to see those guys work up. But, yeah, I think your list is good. Cody Simon, I wouldn't write him off. He started about half the season last year, got hurt. Is he a guy that's going to shake some things up if he's healthy? Reed Carrico, younger guy, just looking to make his inroads there. Taraja Mitchell, continues to threaten that one of these days he's going to be a guy, but we just it's never materialized for him. So we'll see. And EA, he was more just kind of a situational guy last year under the previous coaching staff. Can he be an every down player as well this year? So a lot of candidates, but is there quality, and is there restaurant quality? And is there an all Big Ten guy there? So that's what we need to see, Dave. If they expect to win the national championship, you need guys, an all Big Ten guy in every position group. And they haven't had it linebacker in a long time.
Quick question here from Facebook. This is from Philip. What is the percentage do you think the Buckeyes will land Jaden Bonsu? Throw a number. Yeah. I'll go like 65%. I think they're probably going to land him, but certainly not a lock. What do you think, Steve?
I think that their chances improved. I think I had all but written him off not too long ago. And he's from Hillside, New Jersey, St. Peter's Prep, number 22 safety in the country. And they've swung and missed on, obviously, as we all know, some big-time safeties. Was Caleb Downs, I think, one of those guys that they were shooting for. Jaden Bonsu. He's got a ton of offers, about 24. Miami, Michigan State, Ohio State seem to be his top 3 right now. And Steve Wiltfong put in a crystal ball with a certainty of 6. So take that for whatever it's worth. I'm going to crystal ball him, but it's not a 9, it's a 6. 6'1", 210-pound safety right out of Central Casting with that size that you're looking for. Number 259 prospect in the country, number 4 overall in New Jersey. And he's been to all 3 of those schools, Miami, Michigan State, Ohio State. And the Buckeyes, obviously, after swinging and missing on some of those top ones, have redoubled their efforts for Jaden Bonsu. And who else would you want to have to coach you? But these guys at Ohio State right now, Perry Eliano had some great ones at Cincinnati last year. Tim Walton coming from the NFL, Jim Knowles they're going to put you in a defense that really accentuates the safeties, 3 of them on the field for preponderance of the time. So to me, you need bodies at that position, need quality. And I think Jaden Bonsu, if they can close the deal on him, he'd be a good one to get. He's going to announce in 6 days on August the 14th, it sounds like. So we'll keep an eye out for that one.
Sunday. We'll see if he's a Buckeye. Another question from Facebook here. This is from Rex. Will the Buckeyes have more sacks this year? He's also saying that the poor linebacker play will hurt the D line. Well, let's hope the linebacker play is much improved. I think it will be. Coach Knowles is not just the D coordinator. He works with the linebackers. Will they have more sacks and tackles for loss? I know you mentioned tackles for loss this year. Hell yeah, they will. Jim Knowles, that is one of the staples. He is aggressive. Oklahoma State was racking up tackles for loss and sacks last year, and now he's got much better toys to work with. So I think you guys can expect definitely more sacks, more tackles for loss this year. They're going to give up some big plays, but overall this is going to be a much better defense because he mixes up his looks. He's very good at in-game adjustments, so I think you guys are going to like Jim Knowles a lot. Steve, someone wanted to talk about basketball recruiting. We got Neil saying, let's get into basketball recruiting. Neil, good news for you. We were going to do that anyway, but we'll pretend like we're doing it for Neil. How about this, Steve? Now, normally, I love Ohio State basketball. Normally, in the middle of camp for football, I'm not talking Ohio State basketball unless things like this are happening. Chris Holtmann and his staff are just crushing it. Ohio State now has the number 3 class in the country for 2023. The 2 programs ahead of them are Duke and Kentucky. Pretty good company to be in for Ohio State basketball. Landed Scotty Middleton yesterday. This comes on the heels of them landing Devin Royal. I mean, they are just absolutely crushing it. Middleton's like a top 40 overall player nationally? Again, Chris Holtmann and his staff, kudos. They've got 4 young men in this class, number 3 class in the country. Absolutely love what they're doing it. And Steve, this comes on the heels, as you know, of them landing a really good class last year. Finished ranked 8th. I think that's probably should have finished even a little higher than that. And he brought in 3 really good transfers, 8 new scholarship players. I love what Holtmann's doing.
Yeah, and we'll just throw in there, they just went 2-0 on their exhibition tour, beat Egypt and beat Puerto Rico. And one of the freshmen in that 2022 class, Bryce Sensenball, had 20 points yesterday against the Puerto Rican national team. So that bodes really well. He's a guy, I don't want to say he's going to be a one and done, but he's a guy coming from the state of Florida. Not many people knew about him because he was injured and missed his junior year and part of his travel season, got back out there in travel and was dominant the summer before, and he was the player of the year in the state of Florida. So to me, he's a guy, a building block that they're going to really be a cornerstone perhaps this season, with Bruce Thornton at point guard, splitting time with the Oklahoma State transfer, Isaac Likely. So all those guys played well in those 2 games down in the Bahamas. Unfortunately, there was no streaming or anything, but if you go to the Ohio State Hoops Twitter page and their Instagram, they've posted some nice videos of some great plays the team made, and now they'll get some time off before the semester begins here in a few weeks. In terms of Scotty Middleton, fast forwarding now to the 2023 class, obviously Devin Royal earlier in the week, he's ranked around number 75 nationally, and now you get the number 34 player, Scotty Middleton, 6'6" guard. He's originally from Miami, Florida, plays at Sunrise Christian, which was the best team in the country for about 90% of the season until they lost in the championship game of the Dick's Sporting Goods championship to, I think it was Montverde beat them, I think, in the championship game. And both those teams, Montverde and Sunrise, filled with 2022 prospects that are going to play college basketball this season. Scotty Middleton played as a junior at Sunrise Christian and picked the Buckeyes over Seton Hall and UConn, a big lockdown defender at the 2 guard. Could also play on the wing as well. A top 3 class right now, obviously, when Duke, Kentucky, North Carolina, Kansas, whoever else get done, selecting their McDonald's All-Americans in April, right. It'll probably drop down to 5 or 6. But an outstanding class as it's written right now, and it'll be fun watching all those guys go through their final year of high school basketball. Also have George Washington III a combo guard from Dayton Chaminade Julian. Austin Parks, big 6'10 center from St. Mary's Memorial out in the western part of the state. Devin Royal, power forward, could play the wing as well from Pickerington Central. So they all complement each other. George Washington could play the 1 or the 2. Middleton could play the 2 or the 3. Royal could play the 3 or the 4. And then Parks will play the 4 or the 5. And there's still a chance they could add Dalen Swain from Columbus Afrocentric. That is still out there. He may make an official visit to Ohio State September the 3rd. Really, the scholarship situation, I won't take too long explaining this, but Tanner Holden is a Wright State transfer, will be in his 4th year at Ohio State this year. He's entitled to the super senior year the following year if he decides to come back and if Chris Holtmann invites him back. So that's maybe the one moving piece and part here. If he leaves, then it opens a spot for Swain. If he would pick Ohio State, I think Xavier with Sean Miller is also pushing him very hard right now as well. So file that in the back of your mind that they have 4.5 scholarships right now for that 2023 class. 4 of them already filled.
You answered Jesse's question here. I didn't even need to put it up there. Jesse was asking, what's the chance of still getting Swain in basketball recruiting? Steve nailed it all. Steve is on top of the football beat and the basketball beat. And we had a commenter. I don't know if you saw it, Steve. Somebody said, is there a better last name in the world than Helwagen?
Well, I haven't found one. I haven't come across one. It definitely is a conversation starter. When you walk into a room, people will double like, your name is what? That type thing. And
very German. Helwagen.
Yes, Helwagen. Yes.
Helwagen.
Yeah, yes. I disavow any knowledge of what was going on there in the 40s, but whatever. So that's our heritage, I suppose.
Well, your family was in America by then, so you have nothing.
Yes,
right. You guys are the.
I want to go to Germany. I want to go to the Hofbrauhaus, and I want to go to Italy. I got a little taste of Europe, as you know, earlier this year: Spain, Luxembourg, France, and London. And I would go back to London. I want to go back to Paris. I want to go to Ireland. I want to go to Scotland, Italy, and Germany. Those are my ones I want to still hit.
I never knew you were such a European aficionado.
I didn't know I was either.
You fell in love with Europe. You went over there, huh?
I always told them I don't want to fly over the ocean. But you know what? It was a 7-hour flight from Atlanta to Madrid, and it was nothing. They had movies. It was comfortable. They had brought food. The time flew. You didn't even know, up and down. It was weird. 7 hours, but it worked out.
Well, good for you. Good for you. All right. Well, thanks to everybody for joining us for today's show. We really appreciate it. Thanks to Steve Helwagen for his wisdom and comments. Hope everyone has a great day.